It's the night before my statistics exam, and I'm stressing. I've been failing past paper after past paper, and eventually I get over 50% for those past papers. And I go into the exam thinking, wow, okay, I'm so prepared, I'm just going to wing it. Months go by, and next thing you know, I've done a lot better than expected. I was going in expecting to fail, and I came out with a pretty decent result. Even my teacher came to me and said, wow, I'm surprised you got that. So if you've come out of paper one feeling like that, feeling like you've just bombed every question and there's no hope for you, this video is for you, because that paper is gone now. You can't do anything about it. The only paper that matters now is the one that's coming up next week. I've said this in the video before. Edexcel has cheat sheets online, and these are called the examiner reports. In the previous video, I went through the most frequent topics that were mentioned in those reports for paper one. And in this video, I'm going to be going through the most common topics in paper two from what I found according to the data, and the most common pitfalls in each of those topics. And make sure to stick with me completely to the end, because there's one mistake that comes up 3 years in a row that the examiners keep talking about, and it costs people marks on a question that they otherwise would have got completely right. It's just these minor details at the end. Let's begin with talking about what doesn't come up. And surprisingly, binomial expansion only pops up out of 2 of the 5 summer papers that I was able to look through. Meanwhile, here's what turned up in every single paper that I looked through for paper 2. Let's start with the safest bet on the paper, and that is sequences and series. These have come up on every June paper for the last 5 years. So that's arithmetic, geometric, sum to infinity. And the one thing that people don't drill enough are reoccurrence and periodic sequences. And this is where each term is built from the one before. And that hit in 2022, 2023, and 2024. Here, it's very easy to throw away marks. Not because the maths is bad, but just because the thinking behind it was bad. So for instance, in 2024, there was a loan question where the maths gave 2 answers, 36 months and 45 months. The loan was paid off at 36, so the 45 months was a nonsense answer. The borrower had stopped paying, but people kept it anyway, and they lost the mark. It didn't make any sense. So the maths was right, but the thinking behind it wasn't. So that's a mark you can save just by reading the question twice and understanding the context of the question. Now that same pattern, right maths but wrong execution, is also present in trigonometry, which also pops up from my understanding and what the data told me from all of these examiner reports. Okay, so that's things like proving identities, solving equations, writing something as r cos or r sine, and small angle approximations. But here's where the marks leaked. Working in degrees when the question's in radians. Losing a solution by dividing through by cos when you should have factorized. You can do every line correctly and still drop a mark because you found one answer when there were 2. Now the examiners are flagging this on nearly every single paper, so if you haven't already, make sure to check out the free community below. I've got a full walkthrough of trigonometric equations that you can go through, and it is probably the best system I've found to solve trig equations correctly every single time. Now, if sequences and trig are the bankers, then calculus is the ground that the whole paper stands on here. Differentiation and integration are both nailed on, every June paper without exception. Differentiation from first principles, implicit differentiation, parametric. On the integration side, there's integration by parts, by substitution, and partial fractions feeding into a bigger integral. This over here is the engine room of the paper. If you're triaging your revision, this is something to really focus on. And before we get to the 2 topics that no one revises, here is a useful statistic to keep in mind. There is one question on this paper that only 1 in 20 students get right. And the worst part about that is that it is extremely easy. So people are literally leaving marks on the table. I'll cover that a bit later, so make sure to keep watching till that point. Now here are the 2 topics I really want you to hear, because these catch a lot of people out. If you read all 7 reports, vectors and differential equations look slightly less certain than everything else. But that's a trick of the data. The 2 times they were missing were both autumn research papers, which were sat during the pandemic. If you look only at the summer papers, the ones you're actually going to sit, then vectors is there every single year. Differential equations every single year. 5 out of 5, both of them. In terms of specifics, when it came to vectors, people would add up the position vectors when they should subtract them. That came up in 2018 and again in 2024. Another issue is that they show 2 vectors and multiples of each other to prove that they're parallel, but then forget to actually write the conclusion. The work is right, but the final sentence is missing, and as a result they miss that final mark. Differential equations is forgetting the constant of integration, or never writing out the full model at the end. Now let's do a quick round of the ones that are almost guaranteed. Logs and exponentials, well, that came up in 4 of the 5 last summer papers. And as usual, that's usually a growth or decay model. Parametric equations, 4 out of 5. Partial fractions, 4 out of 5. And almost always as a stepping stone into integration, so make sure to learn them as a pair. And numerical methods just feel skippable and boring, but it is in 4 of the 5 last summer papers, so don't gamble on it not showing. Right, so here's the mistake I promised you at the start of the video. Picture this, you're 40 minutes into paper 2. You hit a show that question. You know exactly what to do. You work through the algebra, line after line, clean as anything, and you get to the bottom and write the final expression. You feel good about it. But what you didn't write was 2 little characters. Equals. You showed the expression, but you never showed that it equals something. And that's 1 mark gone on a question that you really got completely right. The reason why I'm really hammering on this is specifically this was equals 0, okay? And the examiners have gone on about this in several examiner reports. It's usually the same question number, different year, but the same mistake. They even called out people calculating the partial fractions correctly, but not actually writing it down. So the key thing here is that the maths is right, but the presentation is obviously just really messing people up. So here are the rest of the recurring mistakes, straight from the examiner reports. Number 1 is saying that a log can't be negative, and examiners hate this phrase. It was flagged in 2020 and again in 2023, and it's wrong and it costs you. You can't take the log of a negative number. That's a different statement, and that's the one that gets the mark. You need to be precise. 2, the incomplete model. When the question says, find the complete equation for the model, it wants the whole thing written out, not just the values of the constants. And that was a specific thing I mentioned. On a Ferris wheel question in 2022, the final mark for doing this was scored by fewer than 5%. Okay, it was the second least scored mark in the entire paper. Almost everyone found the numbers, almost nobody writes down the full equation. Number 3 is writing down a calculator answer with no method. So in a Newton-Raphson question, people quoted the formula with the function and its derivative the wrong way around, even though the formula is given in the formula book. And in 2024, on a question that told students to show every stage of their working, people just wrote the answer and got nothing. The report said it plainly. The answers can be found on a calculator, so no working, no marks. And a fast handful that turn up again and again. Inequalities not written in proper set notation. Answers not given to the accuracy asked for. 3 significant figures, 3 decimal places, or an exact value. That's an extremely important one. The other one is forgetting the units. Finishing a proof without a concluding statement. And messing up the modulus, i.e. treating it as if the modulus of A plus B equals the modulus of A plus the modulus of B, which it doesn't. None of these are hard, but every one of them is a mark. Okay, so back to that exam paper I was talking about in the beginning. I was certain that I'd failed, but I didn't. Okay, and that just tells you that feeling coming out of an exam paper, whether it's good, bad, mixed, it means nothing, because there's no actionable step you can take on that paper. The only relevant paper now is the one in front of you. From watching this video, you now have a comprehensive understanding of the topics that were occurring with the highest frequency on the previous summer exams. That's the what. If you want to know the how, which are exam strategies that are designed to help you aim for that A or an A star, you can find that in the free community completely for free down below. If you just click the link, you can join that and you'll be able to get full access to that blueprint. And again, whatever paper 1 felt like, just leave it there. Paper 2 is a new paper, so just focus on that now.